So welcome to this video. We're on another road trip, this time up to the Northern Territories and Kakadu. We went at the end of September, which is at the end of the dry season. This means that the waterholes have all contracted and this really concentrates the birds, and we saw many of the common birds that you'd expect to see, but in enormous numbers. We also saw many unusual birds like this rainbow peter, and a couple of the endemics like the Sandstone Shrike-thrush that you can see here, and the Chestnut-quilled rock-pigeon. And finally, one of the great prizes of birdwatching was to see Gouldian finches. So come and join me. Well, I'm getting to the last of the packing now. Got a long journey ahead of us. We have 6 weeks off to travel up to Kakadu. So that's a really nice long time off work. And we're travelling up through New South Wales and then Queensland. So our first stop is Nourlangie, which is about 800 kilometres north of here. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to make some stops and see some birds on the way. One of the first sites that we're going to aim for is Boodjamulla. Hopefully that's going to be open when we're there. There's been flooding earlier on in the year and we're not quite sure, but we'll find out, so come and join us. So on the way up it was very dry and very hot. Wherever we came across a waterhole you commonly see these galas, and also these meadowlarks were peeping all the time. One sight that's unusual for me in Sydney was to see lots of dotterels, and they were pretty commonly found. But across the grasslands, which was really drying up, we'd occasionally see these brolgas like you can see these two here. Well, that's been a lot of driving over the last few days. We're here now in the Lara wetlands, which is about halfway up kind of outback Queensland, and our next stop is going to be Winton. These wetlands have proved to be a bit of a revelation. They're a hot spring and you can see the water behind me, and it's just an absolute magnet for birds. The particular bird that I was excited to see was pink-eared ducks. And not only do they have pink-eared ducks here, but there's a little family of them, and I got up early this morning and took their photos, so hopefully there'll be some movies of that. But also there's dotterels and, you know, really all sorts of birds around. I can see crested pigeons here. It was really great to see these black-tailed native hens all along the campsite. And here's a look at the pink-eared duck family. So after a lot of driving, we've arrived at Boodjamulla, and I'm really excited to look around this area. It's a national park and it runs alongside a river. And you can see all around me, it's extremely dry, so I think that will attract a lot of birds. And as I've done before, then I'm following a guide. So this is Finding Australian Birds, which is by Tim Dolby and Rowan Clark. And, you know, I found this to be a very reliable guide. And they show all sorts of birds that I haven't seen before, like purple-crowned, fairy wrens, and all sorts of birds. So I'm really looking forward to this. So join me and see what we can find. So Boodjamulla really was fantastic, and the videos I've got didn't really do it any justice. I got some nice movies of these scarlet finches and some other movies of the bowerbirds, but really we had a wonderful couple of days there. So I didn't get any movies, but there were plenty of these purple-crowned fairy wrens around, and here's a picture of a female. I did get the movies, and here's a still of the crimson finch. And there were lots of parrots around, and particularly red-winged parrots were feeding quite close to the ground, and here's one feeding on some beans, which gives a nice background. And all around the campsite there were these buff-sided robins. Well, we're heading off now. It's a bit of a downpour, and we're going to go to the next campsite, and then after that we're going to work our way up to Katherine, which is about 1,500 kilometers from here. So that's going to be 2 or 3 days, and I don't think there's going to be much birding in between. But here at Boodjamulla, it's been absolutely marvelous. So after a lot of driving and going up through Catherine, we ended up with our final destination of arriving in Kakadu. So we stayed in the Jabiru campsite last night, and this is really on the edge, the northern edge of Kakadu. And we visited the Mamukala Wetlands in the evening yesterday, and we went down to the hide and spent about half an hour there. And there were quite a few birds around, but we didn't see the magpie geese that we were hoping to see. But we got up early this morning and came back, and there were magpie goose. As soon as we parked, they were flying overhead, and actually there were many more birds on the water. There's a little circuit walk here, and we did that, and that gives you good views of the water, and there were lots of birds there, whistling ducks and all sorts of egrets and everything. So hopefully I got some good pictures, and I'm packing up now because it's getting pretty hot, and I'll go back to the campsite. So these sequences are all taken at Yellowwater. We stayed in the campsite there, and that's very close to where they run the cruises. And we were able to do both an evening cruise and also an early morning cruise. And this gets you very close to the wildlife. They really are not bothered by the boats. And of course, as well as all the birds that were there were plenty of crocodiles of all sizes. And here's quite a big one here. And we got great views of other predators there, including these really nice eagles. And here's another predator that we saw at the back of the boat. Caught a fish that was rather too big for him to handle. In the end, did manage to swallow it, although I didn't get that picture. So what I was really looking forward to seeing was the large flocks of birds. And of course we did see them. There are enormous flocks of magpie geese. And in amongst them here, you can see that there are the whistling ducks. You can also see lots of different kinds of herons. Lots of egrets were present there as well. It was really an amazing spectacle. So there's the whistling ducks. And then all amongst them, there were these jacanas moving, and we got great views of adult jacanas hunting and also some younger jacanas around there as well. See this one getting a grub out. Amazing. Really fantastic. As well as all of these water birds, we also saw Raja shell ducks there. and all the time the background call was from these whistling kites. For different scenery we went north to Abia, and here is the Nadab lookout. And this area has another claim to fame, and that is the area where you see the Cahills Crossing. And as well as people trying to do the crossing, it's also famous for the gathering of crocodiles that you'll get there at the right time of tide. And what the crocs do is that they move around, they position themselves on the side of the wheel, and then essentially they just wait with their mouths open. Now we spent about an hour and a half there, and all that time we only saw one crocodile actually catching a fish, and unfortunately I wasn't videoing at the time, but I did manage to grab a still shot of it just as it grabbed the fish. So one of the birds I really wanted to see was a rainbow peter, and we went on a little trip with Luke Patterson, who is the MT birding specialist, and that was part of the birding week that they run up there in Kakadu. We did manage to see these rainbow pittas. In fact, we saw them a couple of times. You can hear Luke in the background there. And as well as them, in the Sandstone, we also saw the endemic Sandstone Shrike-thrush. And again, that was with Luke. I got some nice pictures of a drongo building a nest. And while we were up there, we saw the other kind of prized endemic, which is a chestnut-quilled rock-pigeon. Okay, so we're just packing up here at the Yellowwater campground. It's dawn and we're just heading off out of Kakadu. We spent 6 days here, 3 in Jabiru and 3 down here at Yellowwater. It really has been a fantastic time. We've seen a couple of the endemics that I was hoping to see and many other birds that I've never seen before. But one of the really exciting aspects of being here at this time of year, which is at the end of September or beginning of October, is that this is just at the end of the dry season. And so the wetlands have contracted down and that has concentrated the birds. So both at Mamukala and down here at Yellowwater really is a spectacular sight to see so many geese, so many egrets and herons and everything here. It really has been fantastic. So I'm fingers crossed that some of the pictures came out, and I hope you enjoyed joining us here while we've been staying in Kakadu. Because we continued our journey, we had to get back down to Sydney, and here at Kings Canyon we saw many of these zebra finches, and it was really an amazing sight. They came down to the waterholes. And then over south of Darwin we staked out a likely pool and saw these peaceful doves, as well as the highly prized Gouldian finches. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you next time.